morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ and here is your Australia-wide weather update for March 26, 2025. Deep low pressure is dominating the scene over in Queensland and the Northern Territory right now, with that rainfall highway still streaming in from the Gulf of Carpentaria and plenty of extra moisture also streaming in from the Coral Sea. Heavy rainfall has been reported over Queensland over the last 3 days, and we still have a couple more days of heavy falls expected to be intermitted across the interior part of Queensland, especially through the Channel Country and into the central west region of Queensland. Plenty more heavy rainfall still to come. You can see on the radar imagery right now, we do have that low pressure system situated pretty much over the top of Bedore this morning. It's very slow moving this morning. In fact, it really doesn't have any motion towards it, and all of the cloud and moisture activity is streaming in from the eastern side of the system here, with a bit of a highway of rainfall now streaming in north of Julia Creek and then through Winton and then down through Longreach and as far south as Windora. Overnight falls between 50 and 75 millimetres have been widespread across central western Queensland, and falls up to 100 millimetres have been reported around Charleville and also out towards Longreach and Winton itself. More rainfall is expected to come over the next couple of days as well, and you can see light showers now extending into the southeastern corners of Queensland, and that is precursor rainfall to what we're expecting over the next couple of days down there. Let's jump straight into the forecast this morning. You can see the heavy rainfall expected to continue throughout the remainder of today. It will intensify and head further south progressively speaking throughout the remainder of today, and you can see isolated pockets of heavy rainfall expected around Longreach, Windora, and then down towards Charleville as the day goes onwards. Charleville can expect a further 50 to 80 millimetres throughout the remainder of today to the 9 a.m. tomorrow, and that's on top of the 70 millimetres that they have picked up overnight. Rainfall is going to be moderate heavy at times in a general area between Longreach across towards, I guess it would be about Emerald sort of area, and then down towards Roma, Charleville, and then across towards Eromanga and Windora. There will be some heavier falls through early tomorrow morning closer to the Queensland-New South Wales border. The direction of this low pressure system, whilst today it's expected to be very slow moving, and it's situated right over the top of Bedore this morning, I'm expecting a general southeasterly motion of this low pressure system throughout tonight into tomorrow morning, and that's going to drag this rainfall further towards the east and further towards the south. Keep in mind, wherever this low pressure system is situated, which by tomorrow morning will be somewhere around the Windora sort of area, right in that kind of nook between the South Australian and the Northern and the Queensland border, the bulk of the rainfall will be on the eastern and the southeastern side of this system. You can already start to see as well through tomorrow morning light showers expected to extend in towards the southeast of Queensland as well. There will be some heavier showers through tomorrow night into Friday morning as well across the central western area of Queensland, and then we're expecting a pretty solid front of rainfall to begin developing associated with this low pressure system here, which will be very broad but have embedded smaller low pressure systems within it. And like I said, this front then beginning to develop through Friday and in towards Saturday, and we're just expecting lines of thunderstorms to be heading in towards the southeast of Queensland, moving in that general west to easterly trajectory, but then plenty more moisture also expected to pick up, and I'll get to that in just a few moments here. But you can also see through Friday and into Saturday plenty of rainfall also expected into the northern half of New South Wales as well, so Cobar, Burke, those sort of areas could be picking up some pretty significant rainfall accumulations up around that 70 to 80 millimetre mark of some much needed rainfall out there, and some good falls also expected into the northeastern corner of New South Wales as well. And through Saturday we're going to see rainfall extend right down the New South Wales coastline as far south as Mallacoota on the New South Wales Victoria border, rather, not so much Queensland there, with isolated heavy falls tending to widespread heavy to locally intense falls between Wollongong down to Mallacoota through Saturday as well. You can see between major forecast models there is pockets of heavy rainfall expected along the south coast of New South Wales, and we could be seeing up to 100 millimetres on Saturday there. Into southeast Queensland though, with widespread showers and thunderstorms, plenty of heavy falls are expected, with bands of heavy rainfall expected to stream into the southeast of Queensland. So for locations on the Sunshine Coast down to the Gold Coast, we are expecting heavy bands of rainfall, especially through Saturday morning. The worst of the rainfall and thunderstorms will clear out by Saturday evening, and then for the most part rainfall clearing out of Queensland in the entirety through Sunday and into towards Monday. Plenty more rainfall still to come though, and I'm going to take this forecast initially in stages. So you can see the first stage of the rainfall event is the rainfall over the next couple of days out to this weekend through the interior parts of Queensland, and you can see, like I've said, anywhere towards the east or the southeast of where this low pressure system is going to be located, which over the next 24 hours is going to be between Bedore down towards Windora. The rainfall will be at its heaviest on the southeastern side of that, so Charleville with already over 150 millimetres in the rain gauge over the last couple of days, plenty more rainfall still expected to come there, and you can see this forecast now suggesting up to 250 millimetres around Charleville and Augathella. Tambo could see up to 150 millimetres of rainfall. Longreach and Jericho rainfall accumulations there starting to pick up throughout this morning. We could be seeing a further 150 millimetres there. Now towards Winton, on top of the rainfall that they've picked up overnight, a further 150 millimetres is possible out there. Heavy falls also expected along the New South Wales Queensland border as well. You can see between Tabooburra and out towards Lightning Ridge, Thallon, St George and Goondiwindi on the more sort of eastern Queensland side of things, anywhere between 50 out to about 150 millimetres of rainfall can be expected. expected. And you can also see out towards the Carnarvon National Park, which drains into the central west and into the northwest regions of Queensland, then across into the Channel Country and into the Lake Eyre area. Quite a bit of rainfall is expected in that general vicinity as well. However, the forecast has been bumped down a little bit from last night. The bulk of the rainfall that will be happening towards the east of Tambo, Augathella and Charleville, or significantly further towards the east of those locations. So for places such as Injune, Roma, and then down towards St. George and Thallon, the bulk of this rainfall will be happening through Friday, especially in towards Friday night and then into Saturday morning. And as you get much further east of those locations, so out towards Chinchilla, Taroom, Edisvold, and then Toowoomba, the rainfall will be happening pretty much Friday night and into Saturday morning. And then Saturday morning is going to be when the rainfall will be at its heaviest for the Sunshine Coast and into the Brisbane metro area. Now, if I check back with the radar imagery, you can see that we're still expecting, for the most part, widespread showers and thunderstorms associated with this rainfall event here. We do have a couple of pretty robust rain bands developing, but we're not going to see proper rain bands developing until this system turns almost frontal and gets into the southeast corner of Queensland, when it's going to have access to much more moisture across much more saturated parts of Queensland. So right now we're still seeing these isolated to widespread heavy showers moving through, so the rainfall is for the most part quite patchy, and that's why some locations still haven't picked up anything significant in the way of rainfall, and other locations have copped an absolute drenching so far. We're also still seeing showers streaming in up in far north Queensland, and I'll get to that in just a few moments. Let's talk about the rainfall this weekend. So starting things off on Friday night and heading things through Saturday and into Sunday, you can see rainfall accumulations over this 48-hour period are going to be for the most part quite heavy across the southeast corner of Queensland, with up to 100 millimeters possible on Saturday morning, and that's just pretty much exclusively Saturday morning by the looks of things. Rainfall will be at its heaviest through Friday night and into early Saturday morning for the Sunshine Coast, and then early Saturday morning to later Saturday morning for Brisbane and the Gold Coast area. Widespread falls between 20 and 50 millimeters can be expected. Isolated heavier falls up to 75 millimeters can be expected between Brisbane and Maroochydore, and the heaviest falls up to 100 millimeters are possible into the elevated areas in those adjacent surrounding communities. Widespread rainfall accumulation starting Friday night and into Saturday morning between 25 and 75 millimeters expected over the entire eastern half of New South Wales. So that includes major population centres such as Sydney, Newcastle, Wollongong, where rainfall is actually going to be heavier. You can see on the southern corner of New South Wales between Wollongong down to Mallacoota, and reciprocated between major forecast modelling as well. Rainfall accumulations there could be up to 150 millimeters. The heaviest falls will be coming through when the system does turn properly frontal, and we see lots of rainfall dragged in on the southeastern side of the system here. So once that moisture band gets sort of going over in the southeast corner of New South Wales, we could be seeing rainfall accumulations through Saturday up to 150 and potentially a little bit higher than that millimeters around the Narooma and the Mallacoota area as well. But yeah, like I said, widespread falls between that 20 to 50 millimeters. Isolated falls up to 75 millimeters expected in the mountains outside of Sydney and Wollongong, and isolated falls between 75 and 100 millimeters are also possible into the northern rivers and the northeast of New South Wales. Very good rainfall, that's for sure. I mean, if we take a look at the drought map right now across New South Wales, it is looking very dry, especially across interior parts of New South Wales. So this rainfall here is going to be very healthy, and you can see as we push this forecast forward towards next week, you can see that map here starting to look a lot better in terms of soil moisture values, with pretty much the entirety of New South Wales and a good chunk of Victoria as well significantly above average. It's unfortunately not going to be quenching the drought across South Australia and parts of Victoria as well. They are really struggling for some rainfall right now, and unfortunately there's nothing on the cards, and I actually doubt that there's going to be significant rainfall into this part of South Australia for a good chunk of time, at least until maybe mid to late April. That's somewhat decent rainfall, and then the proper rainfall starting when the winter rainfalls come probably around June for South Australia, and maybe late April, early May for Victoria. So the rainfall is going to be a late start for these locations as well. We're seeing that high pressure belt very strong down in the Tasman Sea, and unfortunately it doesn't look like South Australia and Victoria are going to be getting their fair share of rainfall for a long time coming, which is very unfortunate because, like I said, they do desperately need it, and they are in proper drought-like conditions down there. It is, I guess, a bit of a double-edged sword. It's a good thing that this rainfall, or these drought conditions, have materialised in the dry season when we do generally expect drought. This would be a big concern if we're seeing this magnitude of drought in August or September after their wet season down in South Australia and Victoria. So I guess that is the good news here. I'm just trying to remain a bit positive for some of the farmers down here, but they do desperately need sort of 25 to 50 millimeters of rainfall just to kickstart their cropping seasons, and unfortunately there's none of that even on the long range forecast that extends out a month. There's really no good rainfall on the forecast for South Australia especially, but also for Victoria. Rainfall accumulation is expected to be well above average there into early April. Mid-April, a little bit of a wild card at this time. Anyways, we're going to switch things up on their head completely and talk about saturated far north Queensland. You can see on the radar and the satellite imagery right now, the rainfall has been streaming in pretty consistently over the last 12 hours, and we have had some isolated heavier falls up there. Yesterday we saw 170 millimeters at Cardwell Gap, which takes their 24-hourly accumulations up to 280 millimeters. So again, very wet down there, and it shows you just how quick 300 millimeters can fall in these locations. Overnight, a good rain band developed around the Townsville area once again, and I believe that dropped about 50 to 75 millimeters widespread across Townsville, with isolated accumulations up to 100 millimeters. I didn't see anything really significant as a result of that. There was a little bit of flooding, and I imagine a lot of people waking up to some big puddles this morning around Townsville once again. I don't know how you guys put up with it. I would be completely sick of it right now over in Townsville, and I imagine a lot of people are. Good showers beginning to develop as well on the Caspero coast. You can see a line of showers trying to develop along the coastline, and it looks like it might actually come into fruition here. So expect some heavy falls around the Innisfail and the Tully area momentarily. We've got some big thunderstorms also developing offshore as well, and I imagine we might see a bit of a band of rainfall later on tonight, somewhere between Townsville down towards Mackay, which could carry some pretty heavy falls here streaming into the North Queensland coastline. And again, wildcard rainfall accumulations up to 150 millimeters possible at any 24-hour period throughout the remainder of this week and into this weekend for North Queensland, including far North Queensland. However, widespread rainfall accumulations should be for the most part in single or very low double-digit accumulations. We still do have that chance, if we do see convergent zones or shower bands develop along the coastline, of some much more significant rainfall accumulations like we saw last night over, of course it was Townsville. I bet you guys are not going to be using the term rain dome for a very long time at this point here, because Townsville's rain dome, that's been on holiday for the last few months, that's for sure. More moisture ongoing in the Gulf of Carpentaria as well, and it's good to see plenty of rainfall across the parched Northern Territory as well. They're really starting to get some good accumulations there. And just over the next few days as well, more rainfall expected to stream into the northern parts of the Northern Territory, especially through the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf as well, where we do have developing low pressure system activity there. And into the first week of April, some pretty good rainfall is also expected across many of the locations into the Northern Territory's top end as well, just across Kakadu and Arnhem Land, and some good rainfall also expected into the second week of April by the looks of things. There is rumbles of developing tropical low activity, whether it's offshore from the Northern Territory or Western Australia, but much later on into the later first or second week of April, there is rumbles of activity there, which will give another burst of rainfall to the parched surroundings in the Northern Territory. Rainfall is no stranger to Western Australia as well. We do have developing tropical low activity and also tropical cyclone Courtney situated offshore from Western Australia at this time here. You can see tropical cyclone Courtney looking a lot more impressive than what the forecast was suggesting, and she's on a bit of an intensification train at this point here, and we cannot be writing off severe tropical cyclone status as a result. It's really put itself together in the last couple of hours. Whilst the Bureau of Meteorology is only expecting a Category 2 strength tropical cyclone peak out of this, I would not be surprised if in the next 48 hours, probably out to about the 72-hour mark, she did get up towards Category 3 strength severe tropical cyclone status. She's done very well to surround her low pressure centre with plenty of convection over the last 24 hours, even in the face of some very high wind shear numbers. Again, no threat to Western Australia, so no need to worry about it, and it is now gobbling up the remnant energy of tropical low 25U as well. We've also got low pressure energy as well developing off the Kimberley coastline. We talked about it yesterday, but a quick low pressure system / even tropical cyclone is possible here in the next couple of days, especially out towards late Thursday night into Friday. That could go into the Kimberley coastline here, and we could be seeing a very weak tropical cyclone as a result materialise. So you can see over the next 48 hours expected to be slow moving, developing quite nicely, and then moving into the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf or into the Kimberley coastline through Friday night and into early Saturday morning, either as a strong tropical low or a weak tropical cyclone, and then moving down through the Kimberley into the northern or the northeastern parts of the Pilbara region there, and then it looks like it slides across into the Northern Territory, and its remnant energy gets dispersed across the northern parts of Western Australia and into the Northern Territory, and might even feed another tropical low development much later on into the forecast period, but it certainly will struggle to do that. Either way, lots of rainfall is expected as a result, and you can see on the rainfall accumulation map here, plenty of rainfall is expected just over the next week alone into the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf. Widespread accumulations on the top end of WA expected to be between 150 out to about 300 millimeters. Columbaroo could see up to about 300 millimeters of rainfall, and then widespread falls as far south as Derby and across towards Lombardina. Rainfall accumulations they're up to around 150 millimeters. Broome, for the most part, unfortunately looks like it's going to miss out on the rainfall, just a couple of drops expected here and there. However, if we do see this thing develop into a fully fledged tropical cyclone and slide down the Kimberley coastline, which interestingly is a very low chance, but the GFS is still calling for it, somewhat through Friday and into Saturday. Rainfall accumulations could be a little bit higher indeed, but for the most part, this system here is expected to stall, slam, or not slam, I guess, but move in towards Western Australia. No threat to Broome, no threat to major population centres, and this is nothing to be worrying about at all. No need to prepare, of course, for a tropical cyclone either, because even if this does develop as a surprise tropical cyclone, it is going to be exceedingly weak, and again, no threat to the West Australian coastline is expected. Some good rainfall still expected into the interior parts of the Kimberley as well. You can see major forecast models expecting anywhere between 75 out to 150 millimetres, and locations such as Fitzroy Crossing, Halls Creek, Kununurra and Winton could be on the receiving end of up to 150 millimetres of rainfall. Higher accumulations can be expected as this low pressure system heads further inland, and isolated 7-day rainfall accumulations up to 400 millimetres cannot be written out around the Kuakara or the Balgo Hill sort of area over the next couple of days, especially if this does develop and head further inland as a developing tropical low. It's going to come into an effect called the brown ocean effect. Now that's a phenomenon where this system will drop a lot of rainfall and it will fill up lakes and rivers as a result, and the saturated ground will act as kind of the ocean, I guess, for this system here, and it will be able to intensify and develop convection off the saturated ground that it will be situated over. So again, this system here does have a pretty good chance at life, and we can't be riding out a tropical cyclone moving into the northwestern WA coastline in the next couple of days, but it is exceedingly unlikely that this is going to be a problematic storm, and I mean exceedingly unlikely as a problematic storm for any significant population centres. But Broome, just keep an eye on it just in case. You might be getting a good drenching out of it here or there, but in terms of the impact for Broome, it's less than a 1% chance of a tropical cyclone impact over the next 3 days, and I can say that with a pretty high degree of certainty. Southwest corner of Western Australia, it has been almighty hot, that's for sure. It's going to end in a bit of a finale with thunderstorms expected across the goldfields later on this week and into this weekend, but again, it is expected to be another scorcher today up into the mid-30s, even the high 30s around the Perth metro area. Mid-30s again expected on Thursday, late maximum mid-30s again on Friday by the looks of things. Mid-30s pushing high 30s also expected on Saturday, and then mid-30s back for Sunday, and it looks like it will be low 30s for Monday and Tuesday. This heat finally looks like it's going to clear out by the looks of things into the second week of April, or into the later parts of the first week of April into the second week of April. It remains hot out to about the 2nd or the 3rd of April for the southwest corner of Western Australia. So to all of my viewers in the southwest corner of Western Australia, which unfortunately my home's turf, not a lot of you guys, again, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, but it is looking very, very warm indeed over the next 10 days. So I do recommend staying safe, staying inside as well, and postponing any outdoor adventures, walking, hiking, anything like that until the proper cooler months later on into April and into early May. This should be the last hot spell, and that's why I refrained from saying that the last hot spell that we had was the finale for summer, because it normally doesn't cool down in towards mid-March across the southwest of Western Australia, and just considering the summer that we've had, it has been a long hot one with above average temperatures being pretty widespread. I was very inclined to say that this summer was going to last for later than usual, and it certainly is, with mid-30 degree temperatures expected into early April, which is pretty unusual, but again, it does happen every now and then. After about mid-April, the temperatures should be down in towards the mid-20s for the most part. We're not expecting anything too crazy later on into the forecast period. Again, we're just going to have to wait and see for the most part. We certainly are heading into the back end of summer as well, so that is the good news, I guess, for the southwest of Western Australia, who are just absolutely over the heat, myself included, that's for sure. Again, any other interesting nuggets on the forecast? Well, they're not showing themselves to me. We're really not seeing anything in terms of rainfall, much needed rainfall as well across the southwest, or the southwest of Western Australia for one, but also across southern parts of the nation. And we do have that good rainfall coming in for New South Wales and parts of eastern Victoria over the next 14 days, especially over the next weekend. But in terms of other rainfall, the much needed stuff for South Australia, the southwest of WA into Victoria, and also for much of Tasmania, is just not making itself seen, that's for sure. And it's all because of the high pressure belt. You can see it's looking very calm, very stable across the Great Australian Bight. A little bit of frontal activity into the Tasman Sea, but you can see in terms of temperatures and wind speeds, it is looking very calm indeed. Even the observation centre down at Mount Cyclone Island, which currently isn't working, interestingly enough, but you can see the strongest wind observations across Tasmania, only about 30 kilometres an hour. That's highly unusual for Tasmania. Normally it's blowing its guts out over there, but it just gives you an idea that the winds are now very calm across across the Southern Ocean because of that high pressure belt. And in terms of frontal activity, there's nothing really on the cards as we pan all of this back here. The frontal activity is staying well south of Australia and her territories, and as such we are expecting things to remain calm over the next couple of weeks. But that is all from me today. A special shout out, of course, to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now. Again, I could not run the show without them, and their support is much appreciated. Stay safe and stay dry over in the Northern Territory and Queensland, and also over towards Western Australia as well. Still more rainfall to come. And that is all from me today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.